Welcome to today's workshop on PhD scholarships for social sciences in the UK. So today we're going to be covering one of the main scholarships that are available to do a PhD in the UK, which is called the ESRC. So we'll go over different ESRC scholarships, how they work, what is the application process like, what is the selection process like, and then we'll talk about other scholarships and go over how to navigate the process of finding those scholarships and what they look like. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are Project EduAccess. We believe that access to higher education, leadership, and professional opportunities is a privilege that marginalized communities are systematically denied through cost information and dispositional barriers. And Project EduAccess is an attempt to improve inclusivity in some of these spaces by removing barriers for marginalized communities in the global south. Our public workshops, as you have joined us today, and the many that we have available on our YouTube and on our website, are part of making information more accessible to everybody. For that, we're very thankful to our three panelists who have continuously supported our initiative and are joining our workshop today as well. We have with us Vidushi, who's doing a PhD in geography from University of Edinburgh. We have Abhishek, who's doing a PhD in education from Brunel University of London, and Hitesh, who's doing a PhD from King's College London. And we've noted on the screen the different ESRC DTPs that the application process that they're familiar with, but they'll also be talking to you more generally about the ESRC overall and other scholarships available. With that, I hand over to Abhishek.
Thank you, Misbah, and welcome everyone to the workshop. So I will just give you an overview of how this type of scholarship is structured. So uh, as we go along, we'll realize that although it's UKRI funded doctoral scholarships for social sciences, they tend to look different depending on which organizations are involved in uh, setting it up and basically delivering it. So in the UK, the research sort of the main research body which provides funding to all sorts of research, not just doctoral, but even um, the high level university research to the grants to professors and so on. That is done by the UKRI, which is UK Research and Innovation, and you, so it because it's sort of like this overarching body that it does not directly provide doctoral scholarships. What it does is it has set up different research councils for different subject areas, and within those research councils you have either a center of doctoral training, which is like a single university, or you have a doctoral training partnership, so where you have two or more universities coming together and administering the scholarship. So these scholarships, although they are, so this is UK government scholarship, by the way. So although that is a UK government scholarship, it is open to international students, but there is a limit till which international students are allowed. I think it's currently at 30, but you may want to check when you apply. So what does it cover? It covers your stipend, your tuition. So the tuition fee is either covered entirely by ESRC or partially by ESRC and partially by the host university. And yeah, so beyond that, you also have some other funding opportunities for your research. So you have research grants to, let's say, do conferences and attend seminars and so on. You also have some pots of money for doing international field work. So if, let's say, your research requires you to travel somewhere, then traveling there, staying there, over and beyond your stipend, you also get money for your field work. And the minimum stipend, it keeps on varying every year and keeps on increasing a little by little. It's slightly more in London because there's something called the London weighting. So if you are applying to ESRC scholarships through a London university, you would get slightly more than uh, if you do it from any other UK university. But it does cover your living costs, your fees. One thing that it does not cover is your visa cost and your airfare. So some scholarships like the Gates scholarship, I think, covers both your airfare, visa, and rest of your costs. Here, they do not provide you money for your, let's say, airfare and visa. And the visa cost can be substantial because you have to pay the National Health Service (NHS) surcharge for 3 or 4 years. So that is also included in your visa fee, which is not covered as of yet. We have been trying to talk to people in ESRC and in UKRI to get it covered, but as of now, they do not cover it. Next slide, please. So where do you look for these things? So you will have to go to the ESRC website. Within that, you have a list of the doctoral training partnerships and the centers for doctoral training. And within that, so it's not always very straightforward as it's applying for, let's say, any other university scholarship like Felix or Gates or Rhodes. You kind of have to do a little bit of searching. You have some of the advertisements on Find a PhD. So within ESRC doctoral scholarships also, you'll have two kinds of scholarship. One where there's already a set project and they need doctoral researchers for it. So let's say there is already a partnership between um, an INGO and the university, and they have designed a project, and within that they are going to take a doctoral researcher. So those things might be advertised, but where you are proposing your own project, you'll have to sort of apply through the regular route and also fill in a separate scholarship application form. Um, so I think I am on the Grand Union DTP scholarship, and for that scholarship, I think the deadline was yesterday. So if you're watching this workshop, you would want to be preparing for the next application cycle, which would start somewhere in October, November, depending again on the each university's individual deadline, and end somewhere around this time or early January. So, as I said, it's not very straightforward. There's not like one uniform deadline across universities and across scholarships. And you might want to look into. So, this part would require some research. So, if you are interested in doing a PhD in a particular subject, you might want to first look at the universities that you're interested in, see which universities are covered or are a part of ESRC DTPs, and then from there you make on the application. So you make a separate university application and you also make a separate application for the DTP. Hitesh and Vidushi will speak more about that. Next slide, please. Okay, so I've already covered this. What does it? What does the scholarship cover? Your fees. So if you are home or international students, I'm assuming most of the people who are applying from based on this workshop will be international students. So there was a time where they would only cover the home fees, but since I think the last 4 or 5 years, across universities, that is the case where they cover your entire tuition fee. So you don't have to pay anything for your fees. Your maintenance stipend is tax free, and for 26-27, it is set at 21,200 37. So roughly that would be around what, 1,800 per month. Uh, so 1,800 to 1,900 per month. That that's the stipend that you receive, which is more than enough actually if you live sort of conservatively, or even it's your rough cost should be around 1,400, 1,500, including your rent. So this is a good enough stipend to cover your living costs. As I said, you have so when I started, I had up to 3,000. I think now it has increased to 3,500. There are training support funds. So this would cover your if you want to attend a conference, let's say in a different country or even in the UK. So then traveling to that place, your if you're staying there, that is covered. The conference application fee itself. So over the period of your PhD, you can aim for like 3, 4 good conferences, and most of the cost for that could be covered. If you want to do some additional training over and above what is provided in your own university, in if you are in a DTP, then you can also attend several courses or several sort of short programs offered by the partner universities. So, if within a DTP there are 3 or 4 universities, sometimes the members of that partnership, those universities are open to students from other DTPs coming and attending some courses. So, those are not, you don't have to pay for those. But if let's say you have to travel to attend those, then the travel cost is also provided. But if you want to go for a course, or I mean a short course or a short training which is relevant to your PhD, then you can apply for that through the research training support funds. And one so a couple of interesting things that ESRC scholarships cover is, one is there's an internship component. So you are able to do up to, I think, 3 months of internship, and that period is over and above your funding period. So let's say you are funded for 3.5 years. You can do so, either those 3 months of your internship are inbuilt, then you are told already that your funding includes the internship period. But if it doesn't say that, then your internship, the period of time that you spend in the internship, gets added to your funding period. Same happens with overseas institutional visit, where this is slightly different from an internship, and I think again Hitesh and Vidushi can speak about it, where you get to travel abroad, and of course you need to have that arrangement in place after you start your PhD. But that again you can do up to 3 months, and that is either baked into your funding, or if not specified, then gets added to your funding. So yeah, there are a lot of training support funds available throughout your PhD. One thing that I'll say is that, unlike, let's say, a few other scholarships, again thinking of Gates, Rhodes, and so on, it probably is not very sort of glamorous, in the sense that you won't have a lot of retreats or you know parties and so on, because the money is taxpayers' money. So that part is not there, but there is extensive support for any research and training need that you have. So while these are numbers that are given, that okay, 3,500, if there's a genuine need for you to attend something and you have exhausted it, they may allow you to spend a little more also, if it is relevant to your work. So there are a lot of these components as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is something I should have explained in the beginning, which is the structure. As I said, UKRI is the sort of main funding umbrella body, within which, for different subjects, you have AHRC for Arts and Humanities, ESRC for Economic and Social Research, MRC for Medical Research Council. Uh, so you might also want to consider, so if your project is a mix of humanities and social sciences, you could also apply for an AHRC scholarship. And you can also have like half and half, or like not half and half, like more than 50% of your project should be located in one of these areas. So if you're applying for ESRC, you have to kind of subjectively indicate that this is more of a social science project. But those kind of combinations are also allowed. Uh, and yeah, I mean, as of now, arts, humanities, and ESRC are not the priority funding areas in the UK and in the world across, actually. Uh, but still, this scholarship is quite interesting, because, as I said, it may not have a lot of fancy components, but it does cover kind of entirety of your research needs. The only thing that it doesn't cover is visa and airfare. So ESRC has 14 doctoral training partnerships, one of which is the Grand Union DTP. So, as I said, there are uh, sort of different organizations um, within each DTP. So here you have Oxford, Brunel, and Open University. It's called Grand Union because of the Grand Union Canal, which kind of goes through these three places. There's a question: does it cover a PhD in law? It does cover, because law would come across as a social science subject. So you have people doing law or social legal studies, but you have to kind of see that from university to university, because there are separate pathways in each DTP. So each DTP has its priority areas, and I would assume that in most places law PhD would be covered. So yeah, now I will hand it to Hitesh, who can tell you more about this.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Yes, I'll be talking first about the eligibility, and as it's pretty simple. I mean, you should have master's degree from either UK academic research organization, and for here most of the people it will be from India, so a kind of equivalent. Uh, and you should have first or upper second class in that. So that might come across. It depends on the DTP to DTP, but mostly it's flat. It's around 7 point something, 7 and above. At least for LISS DTP, that was 7 and above. And you don't really have to only masters. You can, if you are just bachelors, still you can apply for these scholarships. Uh, it is because some of the DTPs provide you some other pathways. So, for example, usually the if PhD is for 3 years, and you just come uh, from bachelor's and not having master's, then you can apply for 1+3 or 2+2 or 1+4. So there are such options, especially in Saints DTP, which we'll be talking about perhaps in a very brief manner. And then, as it's mentioned, and I guess Abhishek also has covered it that this program only takes 30% of the people from outside the UK, and 70% will be from here. So it becomes a bit competitive because of that. Yeah, so can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so the application process is simple in terms of the process. I mean, it's a linear process, but it also becomes a bit complex because of the various components within it. So first, if we talk about the Grand Union DTP, then you need a summary proposal. Of course, you need a proposal for each and every DTP, and here it's 400 words for list DTP. It was 800 words. Perhaps it might have changed now, but you can check the forms on their websites as well. If you go on any DTP's website, you might have the application form which you'll be filling, and they might have it should be mentioned there very clearly how many words do they want. So just bear in mind that that will be different from your actual proposal. That could be around 2000 to 3000 words, but here the limit will be much more lower. So you will have to cut it down accordingly. And then, of course, a personal statement, which is around 400 words. And then there is one more thing which we should keep in mind while applying to this DTP is that 60% of weightage for only +3 programs, that is 3 years of PhDs, not 1+3 or 1+4 or anything like that. 60% of weightage will be given to a proposal. So that becomes a crucial part of it. And along with that, if you have already planned overseas fieldwork, that also you can mention there because there will be a question specific to that. And also the language training, if you are going to, suppose you are from the north of the India and you are going, your fieldwork will be based in the south and you need to learn a language in that in that case, you can mention it upfront. That's not a mandatory part. You can think about it later and write in that column that you are still thinking about it. But it's always better to have it planned because it helps you to leverage your application in the whole process. And then, of course, collaborations are much more encouraged through all the DTPs. That collaborations should be with non-academic institutions, so it can be NGO or an union or maybe an independent research organization, but which doesn't come under the ambit of academic institutions as such. So that's I think I will insist on that. If you have collaboration beforehand the application, you don't have to establish the relationship. You can mention a few organizations as well that you are thinking about these few organizations or unions or NGOs or CSOs to collaborate with, and that's still fine at this stage. But you should have those collaborations in your mind. But it's also again not a mandatory part. Uh, then this is very much important prior research methods training because that encompasses your actual pathway in the sense not those subject-wise pathways, but pathway in the sense whether you should be applying for +3 or 1+3 or 1+4. And that totally depends on your supervisors as well. You discuss it with your potential supervisors and then decide, but that depends on this research methods training. What does it mean? So you need to have core research requirements. That is, you should have studied qualitative methods or quantitative methods or any other research design kind of courses you might have. Even if you don't have, that's still fine. And if you have been working with some organizations and doing some qualitative interviews for them, that also you can mention it there. Even if it's your master's dissertation or any kind of field work which is affiliated with your course, whichever course you have done, that also could be a part of it. And you have to match the 80% of core training requirements that you will find on their websites, each and every respective DTP's website. But also last year, Project EduAccess had made a video on it, ESRC studentships special videos. So there, it has been discussed quite a lot, and so you can go on the YouTube channel and find that there in detail as well. On is even if you are applying for some other DTPs, not ACNSS DTP, still other DTPs pages, the web pages does not have this special. Link where you can actually they ask you the questions and you say you choose the multiple choice questions and they will tell you whether you meet the core requirements or not, and they will then tell you that you should apply to 1+3 or 2+3 or just +3s, pure PhDs. And yes, the last point I already mentioned, advanced quantitative methods. If it's there, then it's always good thing, but it's not mandatory since I also do not have the advanced quantitative methods part as my PhD project, but it's always a leverage point, but not necessary. It's that doesn't define your outcome. Now, if we talk about LISS-DTP, it has a similar structure, four parts. One is your student application form, which you will find again on the website, and then you have to submit supervisory statements. So there will be two statements, one from your potential supervisor, and second from your earlier supervisor or any referee, but it should be your mostly academic referee, and that will always give you an advantage over the other applications. And then you separately send your transcripts, master's, bachelor's transcripts to this given email ID. That's it about the application process. Can we move to next? Yeah. So timelines are very university specific. I think Grand DTP has gone. I'm not sure. Abhishek could tell about more about it.
Yeah,
List
it went
DTP,
on Friday.
yeah, right. So it's already gone, but you can think about next year. And list DTP is still there. So usually it will be in the last week of January. And same goes with the ACNSS as well. And their application opens in November end, and then till January end, you have time to fill that up. Now, one more point to be mindful about is your university application deadlines will vary with this uh, DTP's deadlines. So you will have to keep it in that mind while applying to potential supervisors as well. Perhaps for some DTPs you might need offer letter already at hand. So you should be able to speed up the process talking to your supervisors. And you can find all these things on the websites as well. Yeah, next slide, please. Then yeah, selection process. Now, what happens here is that whatever is written as a first point, that university nominates you to the central studentship competition. That's one of the way for if I talk about ACNSS scholarships, university will send your application. You will fill, of course, but first they will send and then you will fill that. For LISS DTP, you directly apply, but your supervisor statements act as endorsement and the nomination as such. So this each nomination independently reviewed by six academics, and those could be from different, not necessarily from your own research area. So make sure that you are writing the whole application in such a form that is legible to a person from other fields as well. So it should be as simple as possible. And that would come in general tips, I guess, which Vidushi will cover even soon. And then there is scoring system, there is scaling system, and which is 1 to 5 for certain DTPs. For LISS DTP, it's in the percentage form. And it's out of 8, I guess, if I'm not wrong. And then first thing they will of course check is academic experience and professional experience. But before that, it comes proposal. Proposal is the first and foremost thing in PhDs, especially in the UK, unlike in the US. And that is the main focus of yours. And then aptitude and potential, what kind of training you had, how are you going to be applying those skills in your own during your own PhDs. And then doctoral research proposal, and then you have planning for knowledge exchange and impact. If you need any kind of training, they will have one column where you will put that I have this much of training, but I need this much for it, and that's pretty fine. You should come with with in transparent manner and in honest manner. So, for example, for here, SGSSS DTP, which is for Scotland, there are three stages. One is HEI review, which is kind of, academic review. It's called higher education. I forgot what I stands for, but maybe Vidushi can cover it. And then second, challenge-led path review, which Abhishek told you about. There are multiple pathways. So it could be anything like political ecology, international development, political science, maybe, and geography. So you apply to those each one particular pathway after discussing with your potential supervisors. And also you can please feel free to mail any DTP managers as well. They are very prompt on the response and they really reply to you. I had written quite a few times to the DTP managers before applying to that, and they really make your job quite easier. Um, and then there is, global stage review, which is the third one, and that's where they select whom to, you know, uh, finally select from. And selection criteria are of three types. One is candidate's capabilities, how much you demonstrate, how fit you are for this PhD, and then research proposal, of course, and then supervision and PGR development, whether your supervision matches or supervisor's profile, how much it matches. For LISS DTP, there is one more additional thing which I will cover eventually. Maybe we all will cover for each and every DTP is for LISS. If you apply, because LISS is for three institutions: Queen Mary, King's College, and Imperial. So if you have a cross supervisor, then your chances of getting in increases bit. Or maybe two different departments within the same college. Not necessarily it should be one Queen Mary and then from King's, but they really encourage that. So but again, check that with the managers. They tell you these things upfront, what will act in a good way for you. uh, so yeah, I guess that's it for me, and I will hand it over to the Vidush.
Thank you, Hitesh. Before going ahead, I will just make two clarifications about SGSSS. So one, of course, the deadline is over, and it's long over, because SGSSS is one of the deadlines. It's one of the initial deadlines that closes. It closes around end of November to beginning of December. So you have to start really early if you're applying to SGSSS. It has two components: a student-led open competition, which is you submitting your own proposal, and the process is similar as Abhishek and Hitesh were pointing out. But the second is supervisor-led competition, which is still open. So if any of you are applying in this cycle, that's something for you to look for ahead. Before that, if it's a student-led competition, the pathway process is a little different for SGSSS. And instead of discipline-based pathways, it actually has some 6 themes, which is like AI and communication, social inequalities, migration, environment, and so on. So you have to choose and place your project within these 6 themes, or else you can choose not to situate your project in any of these challenges. And the application has a lot of questions on how your project speaks to these challenges, how it is contributing towards these challenges, what impacts it will have. They have changed it. They brought in this format um, to 2024 cycle, and from then on they have carried on this format of challenge-led pathways. So those are two things. Somebody had asked a question about supervisor-led competition. Yes, it's different. The process is different, which, as Abhishek was mentioning, uh, these are already research projects which have received grants from ESRC. They are already funded, and supervisors are now looking for students within these projects. So what you do is, instead you apply, you keep looking out at this portal, and the application forms are usually released for SGSSS supervisor-led competition around February, March time. And you can see what are the places published there. And accordingly, you can apply for a specific project. The application will be reviewed by the supervisors. They will hold interviews, and then they will select candidates. And the final interviews happen around May time. So that's supervisor-led competition. There are also collaborative projects where you as an academic work with a non-academic organization entity and pitch a project together. The deadlines for that also are different, and you pitch a separate project in conjunction with a non-academic institution. And the aim is to have a project which has an economic or social impact, which is very clearly evident. So there are some 30 projects funded in the supervisor-led panel. One is through the supervision projects and then the collaborative projects. So keep an eye out for those, because those deadlines are still there for this year. Misbah, could you move to the next slide? So I'll now speak about, as we've covered ESRC a bit. We thought, because the deadlines are ending for ESRC, for some of them they are still closer by. You also might want to look out, and it's also very tough competition because it's 30% only open for international students. So it's a very tough competition. Also one thing I would like to add, in SGSSS supervisor-led competitions, a lot of projects that get funded are focused on Scotland. So you need to keep an eye out for those things as well. So when you're in such a competitive scenarios, you also might want to look out at external or trust-based scholarships or any other scholarship opportunities that are available. So one is, of course, Felix Scholarship, which is provided to outstanding students from India and selected developing countries for PhD, and it's fully funded. And what it covers University of Oxford, Reading, SOAS, and also University of London. So you have 4 places which is covered by Felix Scholarship. Again, very competitive, but that's one opportunity you can look for. And you don't as far as I know, you don't make a separate application for it. It goes via the university. They choose you, and your application is forwarded for Felix. For Inlax Shivdasani Foundation Scholarship, which is again for PhD, the only thing is the scholarship covers a certain amount, which may or may not fully cover your entire PhD costs. Also, it doesn't cover overseas fieldwork. So you might want to have extra scholarship, look for extra opportunities, external funding when you're going for fieldwork. Suppose you have a fieldwork based in India, then you might have to look for other funding sources. But it also has a variant which is specific to King's College London, where it's offered in collaboration with King's College, and I think that fully covers all your expenses. So there are these. I'm just dropping names right now. It would be good enough if you can then individually go to these websites and see for yourself what does the eligibility look like, what are the stipend rates and what it covers or it does not cover. It keeps changing also. And then there is Aga Khan Foundation scholarships, which are need-based support scholarships for doctoral students from developing countries. Then there are Wellcome Trust scholarships. These cover doctoral programs in biomedical, health, and life sciences. Now, you might think that this is a sciences-based scholarship, but it's not so, because I've known people who are working in human geography, which are very, very social sciences based projects, which have been funded by Wellcome Trust. Their scholarships are much more generous than UKRI scholarships. So they are usually paid higher. Though the funding term might be a little lesser, like it might be 3 years. So that's another thing. So you need to keep an eye out. They also have different ways of providing the scholarship. Then there is Leverhulme Trust Scholarship, which funds PhDs. However, applications, again, they go via universities. There is not a separate application portal for it. Then there is Wolfson Foundation, Wolfson Foundation scholarships, which is for doctoral programs in history, literature, and languages across 6 universities. And the application is made via the universities. So the thing is that many of these scholarships, some of the applications go separately, but a lot of them go via the universities, where you apply to the university and then the university forwards your application to these different foundations and the scholarship programs that are there. Then there is James Hutton Institute, which offers PhD studentship opportunities in the field of environmental sciences, but the opportunities are published on findaphd.com. So if your project is based on sustainability and such things and conservation related, you might want to keep an eye out on them, because they provide scholarships around, but these are released around November time. Then, of course, there is National Overseas Scholarship by Government of India for students from marginalized communities, which is to pursue PhD abroad. And that is released much later into the cycle. I'm not sure of the timelines. You might want to check on the website what the timelines look like. But it is much later than all of these other ESRC scholarships and funding. Yes, Misbah, could you go to the next page? Yeah, so then there are also university-based scholarships. So these were external trust-based scholarships, but the universities themselves also provide scholarships. And just remember, we have just put in whatever we knew of, but if you're applying to a very specific university, you might have to check for yourself if they have any specific funding which is available in that particular university. So one is, of course, Gates Cambridge Scholarship, which offers full funding for outstanding international PhD students, which is for Cambridge. Then Clarendon Fund for Oxford students. Again, it is for excellent doctoral applicants. So that's the Clarendon Fund scholarship, which is available. You don't make a separate scholarship application. It goes via the university portal itself as you apply. Then there is Imperial President's PhD scholarships, which is for students in Imperial College London. UCL Research Excellence scholarships at UCL. Then there is Warwick Chancellor's International scholarships, again at Warwick, and Edinburgh Doctoral College Scholarship, which is at University of Edinburgh. So most of these applications are not separate. They go via the university as you make the application. I can just speak for Edinburgh Doctoral College Scholarship that all it required was just to fill in a small separate application, which was like a one question. And then there is an interview round, which happens at a later stage. So the process might differ a bit in each of these, but you have to check for yourself to the institute that you're applying to what scholarships are available. Just one thing to keep in mind, and I think Abhishek and Hitesh would mention this, the timelines look very different. So if you're applying and your course timeline says that you have time till the end of January to finish your application, but it might be so that the application dates for these scholarships close much earlier. So in that case, you have to apply, make the university application before the scholarship deadline is over. So keep a very keen eye on the scholarship deadline, because that determines by when you have to make your university application and then your scholarship applications. Yes, Misbah, next slide, please. Then there are also discipline or department-based scholarships, which is, these are a few of them. Again, very few we have listed. I mean, I could, if anybody knows of anything else, you could just put it in the chat box. It's always good to know. This is the ones that I had known and we had known, and we put it there, which is King's Foundation DPhil scholarships in nature, health, and well-being, or DPhil in primary healthcare sciences. And then there is Edinburgh Earth Ecology and Environment Engagement Doctoral Training Partnership, which is E5 DTP. Now, it comes under NERC Research Council. But why I've put it here is because, again, there are social sciences projects which are funded under this. And so it's just to flag that if you have a project which is around that spectrum, you don't necessarily need to situate it within ESRC. You can also look for other council and what the other scholarship opportunities within them. Then there is Crystal Macmillan PhD scholarship for School of Social and Political Science at the University of Edinburgh. And then there is a Edinburgh Law School and Evan Cameron studentship, which is for PhD students at Edinburgh Law School. I just want to flag one thing here, that there are so many scholarships we are listing, and which means that there are so many opportunities on one hand, so to say, but on the other hand, most of these scholarships are like 1 or 2 or 3 places. That's what they are offering. So it's highly competitive. And please, I mean, just a thing that don't be disheartened, be ready for a lot of refusals. And that's why make as many applications as you can to maximize your chances of getting the scholarship. Yes, Misbah, could you move to the next slide, please? So here are a few general tips which you can follow while making your scholarship application. One is that very well go through the website, know the funding landscape, and read thoroughly the expectations of the funding body. So, and align your applications with those expectations, which is to say that every funding body, so for example, if their focus, if you're applying to Wellcome Trust and the focus is, or say, on health and well-being, then you might want to tweak your project proposal so that it addresses that concern. Or for example, SGSS, because they have made the focus very challenge pathway led specific, and they have certain 6 themes, they are expecting more impact based projects, then you might want to align your application to those expectations in order to increase your chances of getting through. That's just a practical suggestions. Of course, your affinity to your project remains important, but it is very practical to keep yourself attuned to what the application is expecting you to do, and read it very thoroughly. The platform gives you all the information that is needed to fill in an application. These are really long. ESRC applications are really long, but they give you all the details of what is needed and stick to those mandated requirements. So carefully go through sample applications for reference. Very helpful. Many of them upload sample applications of previous people who have been successful. And it's very helpful to go through those applications to know what works, what doesn't work, and how you might want to change your application. Go through those resources. Sharpen your research proposal, as very important, that your research proposal is what is going to make a lot depends on it in terms of getting you the funding. So here are a few things. Make your research question very clear. If it's a student independent project, then make your method section more elaborate and specific. Do not keep it very generic. Incorporate significance and impact in your writing. At least I can say this for SGSS, that it is important that you signpost what is the impacts of your project, how does your project significant, how is it going to contribute academically, socially, methodologically. So signposting that is very important. And maintain conceptual clarity in your proposal. And I say this because I have also been, when I've been rejected and I've asked you can also ask what did not work in my, for a review of your application, and they'll get back to you as to what they found lacking. And something that has been told to me is that first, you avoid jargons, as your proposal will be evaluated by an interdisciplinary team. So it needs to be able to speak to an interdisciplinary audience. And so keep it a little jargon free, but also maintain conceptual clarity. Bring concepts that are useful to your proposal. Don't clutter it with concepts, and keep the conceptual tightness of your proposal. And that's something very important that I have learned over time. Think about project feasibility and propose accordingly with timelines. So do not make grand project submissions saying, I'll do this, I'll also do that, because you have a limited time period. The funding period will be 3.5 years, or 4 years maximum. So make your project adhere to that timeline, design it according to that timeline, and be aware of that timeline. Adhere to the prescribed word limits. It changes for every application. You need to tweak your proposal for every application. They will have requirements in terms of how they're expecting the mandated sections in your proposal, what they want to be focused more upon. Try to tweak your proposal every time you're submitting based on what they require you to see in that framing. Also, like every question has certain prescribed word limits, always stick to those, don't overrun it. And most of them you will not be able to overrun because once the character limit is over, you won't be able to fill in the document. Be specific in your application rather than generic. Very important that don't just say things that so and so will help. I'll just give an example of this later. So now just I'll speak this, that be very specific when you're saying something. Don't be generic. I will say what I'm trying to mean by that. Just to give me a moment. And then strong academic references, of course, are very important. They support your application. So choose your academic referees for those who are familiar with your work, will be able to sort of verify your research capabilities, and that will really help your application and support your application. Misbah, just the last slide. So we have some DTP specific tips we have put in. I'll just speak for SGSSS, and I can let Abhishek and Hitesh take up for the specific Grand Union and LISS and Sense DTP. So for SGSSS DTP, because I said it is based on challenge-led pathways, so decide your challenge-led pathway carefully. If your project does not sit in any of them, you can also choose not to situate it there. But whatever you do, it's a lot hinged on challenge-led pathways, because all your doctoral training later on at later stages will happen. Your cohort will be built around these challenge-led pathways. So decide them carefully and think how your project relates to it. Think about the supervisory fit, because your supervisor, how well your supervisor will be able to support your project will determine the outcome of the funding application a lot. The third is explicitly reference. When I said be specific, this is what I meant, is that suppose you have questions which will be there around what are your career and research development needs plans. Just don't say that I think that this doctoral training partnership, the doctoral training program that is available with ESRC will help me to develop my research capabilities. That is being generic. When you go to the website, you can actually see what different kind of training programs are available within them, what they provide, and you can signpost that these are the things that I specifically feel will help me develop my research capabilities in these specific areas. So instead of just saying things generally, try to be specific. Try to, when they ask you, like, how do you think you will add to the community, a research community of a specific institution, try to go through the pages of those institutions, see what kind of research groups they have, what kind of reading groups they run, and how you see yourself being situated in them, how you see yourself being able to contribute to these groups and benefiting from these groups and the conversations in these groups. So all that specificity helps them to know that you know this field better, you have read on it, and you're ready to take up this PhD. That's something that I have learned. I've heard others tell me who have gone through this process that has helped them. Signpost project impact academically, methodologically, and socially, as I said. Make realistic estimates of project expenses. Don't put they ask you to submit project expenses in SGSSS and do an estimate of it. So don't make exorbitant project expenses. Keep it realistic as an estimate. And when they ask you questions of career placements, have brief ideas of what kind of academic or non-academic entities you want to work with during your internship or placement period. How do you think it will help your research journey and all of those things? It's a long application, but like give thought to each element of it in order to maximize your chances. Also, because this is one last thing I'll add, is that in SGSSS, once you are selected, you sit with the development needs analysis team and with your supervisor and with the SGSSS team members. And then together as a conversation, they decide whether you require a 3.5-year funding or whether you require another 3 or 4 months of period for your in courses, taking up some core courses, and then your funding period expands to 3.75 or 4 years. So the funding period is determined by what are your research needs and training needs. So as clear as you are and specific you're in application, it helps them to make that analysis in a better way. That's what from my end. I would let Abhishek and Hitesh just add their points here.
I think Vidushi has covered most of the things, but just remember that it's applying to these ESRC funded scholarships is slightly different from other scholarships, because in a lot of other scholarships they kind of look at your potential and what you have done previously. So there's a lot of focus on your previous academic achievements and so on. Here there is a good balance between what you have done previously and what your potential is. So there's greater emphasis on your project, because they are partially funding you, but they're also partially funding the project. Whereas in other scholarships, most of the focus is on who you are as a person and what you have achieved. So here, as I think Hitesh said, there is your academic and professional experience. So even if you don't have like some amazing academic achievements, if you have worked long enough in different fields, you can mention those skills and things like that. And you can also talk about the project itself. There's one component which is the knowledge exchange and impact. So that kind of has like 25% of weightage, where if you are able to communicate uh, in ESRC's terms the potential impact of your project, that goes a long way. So I would encourage you to look up on ESRC's website as to how they define impact. And if you are able to communicate that, that holds a lot of value. Uh, and with any application, this applies to ESRC as well, that supervisors support. If your prospective supervisor sort of sees potential in you and is willing to back you, that does you a lot of favors, because as much as we can explain what works and what does not work, ultimately these are highly opaque processes, uh, and you never really know what clicked for you and what did not. So sometimes that slight nudge from your potential supervisor is also very helpful. So yeah, I think this is all I can say. To add something?
Yeah, so about LISS, my first specific tip would be about the core training requirements. I mean, that is something LISS focuses quite a lot on. Uh, I mean, if you are mentioning some methods or trying to demonstrate through your proposal, then you should be able to demonstrate what kind of experiences you had. Experiences, again, academic or the professional. Those could be your courses. So do not really, shy away from mentioning a very small part of it as well. So I have failed this. I mean, while talking in such seminars as well, and talking to some potential applicants as well, that we always feel, even when in fact me myself felt a quite uh, non-confident, while applying to this. And when you see this kind of core training requirements, the big words, and then research design, and then positivism and experimental approaches, but I'm sure that must have been covered in some kind of way in other courses as well. So for example, there was one another course completely different from research methods, like something called theory, history, and uh, uh, theory and history of development. So that also covered a lot of points through it. So on their website it is mentioned. Even subparts are given. For example, if there is qualitative methods, what includes that? They have mentioned it. It includes archival methods, autobiographies, interviews, FGDs, and multiple things. And even if it's social theory, then they have mentioned interpretivism, feminism, post-colonial critique, and etc. etc. So that might have come across in your during your studies. So, just try to include each and everything you have done very carefully. I mean, be keen on that, what you have done, so which you can, include in here. Uh, and that also defines your that particular trajectory pathway, that is 1+3 or +3. Some of the last year there were few people who had asked in question and answer sessions of Project EduAccess only, that they have done masters, but they feel underconfident to directly apply for PhD. So I would say that is my personal experience. Maybe Abhishek and Vidushi can attest to it or might have different opinion as well. That as an coming from an Indian institution, we always feel a bit underconfident and about this core trainings and everything. And let me tell you, I mean, the trainings which we get during masters in India, especially social sciences, is far far better than what kind of training people get here in during their masters, because it's just 1 year and we have whole 2 years, and sometimes our projects, even dissertations, are quite extensive and expansive than what they do here. So we always have leverage in terms of what kind of trainings we have got. Unfortunately, whatever might be the scenario now of education sector in India, which is sad, but still it has done its job till now. So that is one thing I will say. And second, for LISS DTP, try to, when you make it interdisciplinary, they really mean it. It's not like, just a coining the word to coin and to flaunt about. So that's why I said that, cross-departmental supervision has its own uh, importance in this, and that is something which I have heard from the professors which were on the LISS DTP evaluation committee as well. And that's not a secret, so I'm not sharing any secret with you. They will tell you explicitly about these things. So try to have those kind of supervisory things as well. I mean, you can have different departments or people from different, and bring that interdisciplinarity, because seventh or eighth question in LISS DTP application is about how are you trying to bring interdisciplinarity in your uh, uh, application, and your proposal and in your PhD. Um, that is one thing. And another thing I wanted to mention is about the timelines. I mean, I had made a mistake, and which was quite catastrophic, that I kept it, I worked quite a lot on application itself and not really, keeping tab on. I thought I will submit it in the last leg of the deadline, but that's not good. I mean, work well with your supervisors. And I guess Vidushi mentioned this part about the supervisor statement, which should be sent to the DTPs with your application. That's also quite important one, along with your own reference, uh, because and how you make ensure that the potential supervisor writing a good letter, it depends on the calls. So when you are, before you submit your application, please try to have one face-to-face call, share your application with them, have their comments, and you can actually mention that what part you might would just like to cover in their supervisor statement as well. For example, this particular training which I am trying to include here has this kind of journey, or this is very important. And uh, 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 maybe it could might have come through lived experience as well, and that potential supervisor can actually mention that in their statement as well, because that demonstrates that you really had a good kind of discussion with your potential supervisor, and you have come to some good what you understanding, mutual understanding. And that is also that also signpost your future relationship with your supervisor, and that's a really good kind of thing to be done with it. And just to mention very uh, factual thing, that since DTP covers 10 universities, so you can apply to any university, but not each and every department and not each and every pathway. So, University of Kent I mean, SCNSS DTP, since DTP might be funding only few pathways from Kent, University of Kent, but those pathways might not be covered in reading. So just make sure that you have that idea of pathways. Pathways do not matter much, but you should be able to demonstrate the relevance of your proposal with that pathway. So either you can tweak your proposal in a manner, or maybe choose some different university. So that's what I would say. And maybe uh, maybe there will be questions, and we could answer. So that's it for this. And these are the resources which you can go to and find PhDs and even information about the various DTPs. Yes, UKRI has their own websites as well. You can go on ESRC and they have very basic and very fundamental kind of information which we should go through before directly going to the DTPs websites or directly jump into the uh, uh, application form as such. So yeah, I guess that's it from my side.
All right, with that, we begin the Q&A. Thank you so much, Vidushi, Hitesh, and Abhishek for such a comprehensive session. So if you have any questions, you can just put them in chat or you can raise your hand and ask your question. I see Divyanshu, you've raised your hand. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, hello. Thanks a lot. I'm sorry for the echo. Yeah, thanks a lot for such an extent. Oh my God, 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hitesh mentioned earlier that picking supervisors from different departments is good. And did you mean that departments within the same university or between different universities in the same DTP or even universities belonging to different DTPs? And is that only was that only for like interdisciplinary study or is that also for like any proposal?
Yeah, of course, Vidushi and Abhishek would also have something to say about it, but I will speak about LISS DTP specifically. So, yes, it's quite, good thing. I mean, not necessarily you should go for it. Not that if you stick to one department, you won't get the scholarships, but it's a good practice to do that. And since they have explicit interdisciplinary question, and even if you go on ListDTP website, on the front page itself, the first thing is interdisciplinary. That word is mentioned. So I would suggest if they are stressing so much on this keyword, just go for it. So, for example, I'm doing my PhD from International Development and Geography. So I had nothing to do with geography before, but that helped me in one sense, of course, getting through the list, of course. But also apart from that, I could attend, the seminars of both the departments. I could join the research centers of both the departments, and uh, my research got really much informed in terms of space, the importance of space, even though which we do not really understand. So such kind of benefits are there. I mean, real benefits during your PhD. But if you stick to the list DTP, it's of course in strictly objective way, it's good to get through the scholarship. Now, it's not across DTPs. DTP is only one. But you can, yes, of course, apply for list DTP. You can apply across two universities, any two of the three, right? Or within the same college or same university, but two different departments. But that is not there in the ACNSS DTP. ACNSS is strictly one university and maybe different department, but no two different universities. But for LISS, you can go for Queen's Mary, one professor from Queen Mary, another one from King's.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think this is something important to mention. And as it applies to everything we have been saying, please still check. Don't like take this as the last word. But as a general rule, you can apply to multiple DTPs, but you cannot apply through multiple organizations within the same DTP. So you can't apply through, let's say, all three universities of the Grand Union DTP. You'll have to pick one through which you're going to put your application.
Yeah, just on clarification, maybe I didn't mention it. I mean, you don't have to apply for Queen's Mary. You apply to only one university, but you can have the supervisor from any of the three. So, but application will be only to one university where your primary supervisor is situated.
There's a Ria has asked a question that does having a master's from another international university give you better chances of funding? Because they've noticed that most DTP award winners have a master's from UK itself. Again, as I said, it depends on how you place it, you position your work. I know of several people who did not have an international university degree, and they either started straight away their PhD or DPhil or masters plus DPhil through the doctoral training partnership. So it all depends on how you communicate, uh, because of course the prestige and all of that will have a small bearing. But if you are able to talk about the skills, because if you look at the application form, there's a huge section for all your previous research training. And as Hitesh said, sometimes the work that we do in India, we feel like it's not that great. I just did a couple of interviews, or I just went on the field and did that. Mention that, because that counts as a research skill. If you have worked with vulnerable groups, and if you have navigated, let's say, some administrative loopholes to get to collect your data, mention all of those things, because this is one thing that people from the global south in general are like underplaying the work that they did. So sometimes that is a factor. And the other question is there a bias to fund projects that have more UK relevance or including comparison to UK? I mean, it depends on who you ask. My supervisors did say that, show at least some relevance to the UK, because at the end of the day, it's a UK government scholarship, it's a UK taxpayers' money. So while they have not clearly mentioned it that, oh, it should have UK relevance or it should be there, in some cases it might help. But as I said, it depends on who you ask. I would say, just to be on the safe side, show how there are parallels in UK as well. And when you talk about knowledge exchange and impact, if you can include one or two things where it shows, even if your project is not related to the UK, if you can show something that might cover a certain base. I don't know what Vidushi and Hitesh think about it. Like, do you think project needs to have a UK relevance?
So if I have to answer both questions, then for the first one, TDP, as I agree with Abhishek that I don't think, I mean, yes, it might make some difference, but it eventually depends on how you pitch your project. And I have known people who don't have masters from UK who have got a scholarship. So I don't think that's like a deal breaker thing. The other question is UK relevance. I have heard from people that, like for SGSSS, there are a lot of projects which are based on in Scotland get funded. So of course, because it is the name is the Scottish government and it's funded from them. Of course, a lot of focus is on projects which are based in Scotland, but that does not mean that I have known people who have projects based in India who have not had any component which is in comparison to UK or which is bringing UK in that sense, and it's still being funded. The point was that they held relevance, they had global relevance because, as you saw, there are three stages in SGSSS. It has challenge-led pathways and then it has global review stage. So also your projects at the end of the day are also speaking to global issues, even if they are and they're deriving that knowledge, they're generating from that knowledge from global south, and that is important. So if you the way you frame your project and its relevance and its impact in whatever ways they understand and you understand it, and the significance of your project, that determines a lot as to how your project will be conceived and funded. I think that is very important. So I think, in my understanding, more than UK relevance, it is how you pitch relevance of your project and where does the relevance of your project lie. That is more important. That's what I would say.
Yeah, for me, I would also say that it doesn't matter whether you have done it from uh, uh, foreign university or not, because ultimately you are an international student, and when you consider you as an international student, I mean, I should also be. I want to believe in the British rationalism somehow, even though my inner side is resisting to say that. Uh, and I think they should be able to give more importance to even equal, or even not more equal importance to the degrees from outside, especially from India as well, or any part of the uh, other than the UK. But Does it help? Yeah, maybe if they had a special trainings like core requirements in something or some kind, then they might get leverage, the people who have done the masters from the abroad. But I don't think that would matter much, and that should not. Second, about whether it should have the relevance or not. Uh, my own study doesn't have any relevance to in the UK at all, and I have seen many people in my DTPs as well who are working on Nigerian issues, and some of them are in South African issues, and one is on Caribbean issue, which has no whatsoever nothing. But now, even studying the global south itself is adding to their knowledge system, right? I mean, they have still been extractive in one sense. Sorry, it's being recorded, you can remove it. So, users mentioned, like, you are contributing to the global north scholarship by bringing some global south narratives, and they would be happy with that because they still want to know what's happening in the global south. So yeah, I mean, that's it, I would say about it.
Thank you, all of you. I am mindful of time that we've passed the 1 hour mark. So, just one note is that a lot of the questions in chat have been answered by Abhishek. So, if you put your question in chat, you might find an answer there. I just want to clarify one thing about the Aga Khan. From what I understand, is that you are eligible if you are from India to apply for the scholarship for a PhD. They will only fund 2 years of the PhD, but not for programs in UK and Russia. You can still apply for programs in the US and in Europe or anywhere else, just not UK and Russia. I don't know what the logic is for that, but if you go on the Aga Khan website, they also have an eligibility tool that you can respond to given your specific situation, and they let you know whether you are eligible for the scholarship or not. So if you're applying for the US, yes. If you're applying to the UK, then no, and to Russia, then also no. Anand, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, hello. I'm audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thanks. So my question is for the LISS DTP. So of course there are many things to write there. So particularly I would ask about the on the page previous research training, and they ask about the conceptual and general research and specialist and research and practice. So first thing is that for some essays, word limit is mentioned. You have for research proposal thing, you have to write 400 words of abstract, and interdisciplinary 200 like that. For this part, word limit is not mentioned. So my question is how we should approach first, and what are the things should be mentioned, and second is what should be word limit, and what things we can stick upon. First question regarding this word limit and this thing. Second is on the advanced quantitative methods training. So I saw they in the list DTP they have also they have given the list of advanced methods, various lists, and I don't know things at all from there. But in my own PhD, I am going to use to complement my PhD project, because broadly my PhD is qualitative. So I'll be using annual survey industrial data and PLFS thing, and I will be using Stata or R language. So will it be covered as advanced quantitative methods, because I did not see methods mentioned there? And if yes, then how can I write like that? Because that was my confusion. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Anand. Just clarification for the first question. You said there is no word limit written. For which question you said previous training?
Yeah, previous trainings, previous research training, there are four things they're asking: conceptual, general research, specialist, and research in practice, like about things.
Okay,
And they also ask about the research proposal. For that, they have mentioned that 1500
right.
words, for abstract 400 words. For these
Hmm.
things, they did not
Hmm.
mention. Also, they also ask about the data skills, and there also they did not mention about word limit. Interdisciplinary also they are asking about. There also they did not mention word limit. So I am a bit confused how much I should write.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure why it's not there. During my times, word limit was there for each and every section, and I kept my answers. Maybe you can check with, you should write to LISS DTP if they haven't mentioned. That's the best way to clarify on it. But I kept my answers stick to 250 words because that was the limit during my times for each and every questions other than the proposal and the abstract. Uh, so I would say, I mean, being brief, I don't think it needs much more explanation even in 500 words. I think 250 must be okay, but you should check with it. I will strongly advise checking with them. Second question, yes, you can still write this in advanced quantitative training. If you are using Stata and R, you don't have to mention what exactly, whether it will be a regression or whether it will be ANOVA or whatever. You don't have to be specific much about it, but you can still, mention that you are going to do secondary data analysis for which you are going to bring in some advanced quantitative methods. And I also had written, which I haven't used it, but that's still fine. I mean, but I might just use it. So your project might just change over a period of time. But if you have potential of adding those advanced quantitative methods, write it down. But you don't have to be explicit which method, particular method as such. But you will say you will have to just do some secondary data analysis and it will complement your study. And I will eventually, of course, over a course of over a period of time, you will decide which particular method you will use. So yeah, I mean, I can share my answer with you
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want. Yeah,
So thank you so much. It means that no need to mention about R or a status, something like a method, but I can just I'll write, okay, I'm going to use or maybe this data set to complement my PhD project.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, you should
thanks.
go ahead with. Yeah.
There's another question in my DM. So they're asking, can I apply for both ESRC and AHRC with the same application and same college? So my they're saying that my college supervisor has told me to do that because it's a digital humanities PhD, but the work also falls into the ESRC remit. The digital humanities PhD is eligible for AHRC at King's, but the King's ESRC does not specify any course, which is why I'm confused. So any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think you can and you should. The only thing is you might have to tweak the individual application because they require that 50%, as I said, like 50% of your project falls under arts and humanities, or 50% is in uh, ESRC's remit. And of course, as you know, like these are very subjective things. So as long as you are able to justify that why it is more humanities in one case and more social sciences in the other, I think you should be able to do it. Vidushi, Hitesh, if you have other thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, definitely do it. Not just like should be able to, you should do it. But second thing, as I would agree with Abhishek, to tweak it in both cases. This is my personal experience. When you're writing for ESRC and especially with AHRC, they are really very creative with the methods that they are using. So try to, if you're having those creative components of methods already, then great for you. But if not, see if you can incorporate them and put them, and it should of course speak to your proposal and speak to the what you're trying to do. But because AHRC does have a lot of work which is happening on that spectrum, it would be interesting if you could incorporate it, tweak it in terms of methods also that you're using for your proposal, so that it can speak to AHRC and sit well within it. But do apply for both.
And so just a general advice, know that there is, as Vidushi had said, there are a lot of opportunities, but there's a lot of competition as well. And don't be ashamed of or don't shy away from playing to the gallery. If you think this will work here, make that tweak. Of course, don't deviate drastically from your original project. But if you think that just mentioning or highlighting one component fits one case, keep making those changes, because while you are expected to carry out some version of the project that you have proposed, there is scope for changing some components once you start your PhD. So you are not like strictly bound by every single word that you have written in your application. So be mindful of that.
I think I agree with the both, so there is no other opinion.
Perfect. Great. That was really helpful. I think those are all of the questions.
So there
Yes.
is there's one question I think, and because I have an experience, I can share it. There's a
Yes.
question by caller Rizwan, which is,
Mhm.
are you guys able to comment on instances where you had supervisors backing, but it did not pan out
Mhm.
eventually? Some personal takes here and there. So
Yeah.
I just want to say it did happen. Um, so what I would say, what I did learn from that experience, because I was very sure that I would be accepted, but it didn't go through. Um, I do not have a clarity of what went there, but I would just say that something that I learned from it is also that when you're applying to a university and you're told by a supervisor that you would be taken in, mostly you are accepted, but sometimes things go astray. So if you have opportunities where you have two departments within a university and you have supervisors responding to you, apply to both departments. So maximize your chances. If your project can sit in two departments, do that. I did not do that, so I would always suggest anybody to be able to do that. Maximize your chances, write to multiple supervisors in different departments, and once they agree, apply to all of them or at least a few of them to increase your chances. That would be my suggestion.
And as you see, like there are so many layers to an application. Like first, your supervisor has to endorse it, then your department has to endorse it, then you go in a common pool of competition, and then like completely different reviewers are going to look at your application. So even if your supervisor is like desperate to get you there, they have limited say in the outcome. And given the funding atmosphere in general, arts, humanities, and social sciences, like departments themselves do not have as much funding to sort of so initially they wouldn't make very strong promises, and even if they do, they might not always have the resources to follow that up.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing here. We've noticed this with some of our mentees as well. The thing is that um, like people here in the UK and I'm assuming in US and Europe as well, nobody's going to outrightly tell you that, your project is bad or, no, we can't take your project unless they've reached a limit on how many supervisees they can take. In that case, they do say that, we've reached the limit and we can't take any more on. But it's in very rare cases do they outrightly tell you that don't apply because I can't take you on. In most cases, they do encourage applicants whoever reach out to them and they do say, "Yeah, it's an interesting project, it's really nice, yeah, do apply and we can see." So um what our experience has been is actually that most professors do say good things, and a lot of people do take this to mean that okay, this means that I'm definitely getting in, but it's always good to keep in mind that it just means that they think it's a potentially good application or a project for the department, but doesn't necessarily mean that you are guaranteed a place. And as Abhishek and Vidushi said, there are so many layers that then do add to that. So I just always keep that in mind as well. And yeah, I just wanted to flag that. Um, I think I'll just some of the things that were in chat for the benefit of those who will then watch the recording. I'm just gonna say it out. So, one thing is that if your scholarship, which is a part of a DTP, is not covering your full tuition fees, which is your international tuition fees, then sometimes departments do cover it, or there are some other scholarships that you can apply for that cover that deficit. So you're able to get then a full funding. Um, Most of the information is going to be available on the website. Check the UKRI website, ESRC website, DTP website to know just what are different things that are available to applicants, or sorry, to people who are then on the studentship. Because as Abhishek said in the beginning, there are various kinds of trainings, conferences, opportunities that they make available. So you may find all of those on different websites, but since you know now that it's UKRI, ESRC, DTP University, so do have a look at everything when you're applying. Um, yeah, I think just important things that I wanted to flag have been addressed. We've also done a workshop on the ESRC studentships last year, we had panelists from different. So, I mean, the three of the panelists of today were also there in that workshop, but we had 2 to 3 more who were part of different DTPs. So, if you want to have a look at the recording of that session, it's available on our YouTube channel. I'd highly recommend that you go watch it. And the recording of this session will also be available on our YouTube channel in a few days. So you can, if you've missed anything, then you can watch the recording. And in actually half an hour, we're doing another workshop on the AHRC students scholarship. So we're looking at PhD scholarships in humanities, and you heard them referring to the AHRC. So we have a session on that. Sometimes also what we may think is a humanities project may fall under a social science department, but what we think is social science may fall in humanities. So as Vidushi, Abhishek, and Hitesh had also said about applying to all opportunities wherever relevant. Do attend that session as well. I think it'll be helpful to hear about the EHRC process. And then we're doing a session tomorrow on the Felix scholarships, which is specifically for University of Reading, University of Oxford, and SOAS. It includes masters and PhD. So if you're applying to any of the 3 universities, then do join that session as well. With that, we'll end the session. Quickly on the question that's come on the registration link. It's an open session. The link is on our link tree. It's actually the same Zoom link. So just join on the same link in 30 minutes. Thank you so much, Vidushi, Hitesh, and Abhishek. I know this has been a very long session. So thank you for being so comprehensive and for joining us yet again. Really, really do appreciate you taking the time out on a Saturday. And thank you everyone who's joined us. All the best with your applications. See you. Take care. Have a nice rest of your weekend.
Thank you, Misbah. Thank you, Hitesh
Thank you,
and
Ms.
Abhishek. Bye.
Thank you both. Bye.